Yeah, I guess we could start. Supporters in the front line. Thanks very much. So thanks for being here today. It was great for me to be invited again to speak at this conference. So it's great to be here. Today we're gonna talk about. Oh, the timer is not started. Can you start the timer? I just want to know my time.
Yeah, we are turning it on.
Okay, cool. So today I'm going to talk about open source libraries, and basically I'm going to talk about vulnerabilities in open source libraries. So what does it mean to have a vulnerability there? What does it mean to you? And what may happen if somebody finds it. So before doing that, oh no, that's too early. What's demos here? So before me is, well, I'm a developer by trade. I started in 1988. And I started with C and assembler, and then I moved on Java in 1996. And then I became a Java champion in 2005. And also founded a Java user group in Turin. And I'm also a coach. I was one of the earlier XP coaches. XP is extreme programming, not Windows. Okay, you're with me, right? I don't want to put any extreme programming. Right, and I'm recently trying to launch my company, that one in blue, which is basically about vulnerabilities, of course. That's where my expertise came from. I had looked a lot of them. Now, before we start, if you want to tweet about this talk, please do it. It helps me because to get more traction, to be known to other people, so that's perfectly fine. It's very good. Of course, if you want to tweet something bad, you just not do it. But good things are good. All right. Now, the agenda for today is that we're going to look at 3 famous cases of exploits made using vulnerabilities in open source libraries. And after that, we take a look at, in general about some open source libraries, what are common vulnerabilities, what are they, and then we're gonna see a demo of a sample exploit of a very common one, which is actually affecting a very widely used library. And then we're going to have a look at some preventive measures. So what you can do to avoid being a victim of such vulnerabilities. And then we have a look also at some common delusions. I mean, manager anti-patterns, if you want, about this topic. And that's question and answer. Now, first one. This is the San Francisco Metropolitan Transport Agency, which was halted for a whole weekend. So the good thing about this is that all the customer has a weekend of free rides. Yay, everybody going for free. However, that's the problem that MTA had. So basically, 2,112 systems were encrypted. So all the data were encrypted by a ransomware, and they had to pay back to the hacker an undisclosed amount of money to get the data back. So yeah, it was not very good. And this was caused basically by vulnerabilities in Apache Commons collections, which is a library which, by the name, is very common. So a lot of us uses it. Who use Apache Common collections? You see? Who use Guava? You're not safe anyway. Now, yeah, so the thing is that they use this massive Bea WebLogic server, no, a J2E server, J or whatever it's called now, and those servers are talking to each other using a protocol called the T3, and they were serializing Java objects. So they were transforming Java objects in bytes, sending it over the wire, and recomposing on the other side. And unfortunately, the hacker were able to insert their own object in the middle of the conversation, So the objects gets deserialized somewhere on one of the servers, and of course they were malicious objects. They just took control of the server, encrypted everything, and bye-bye. So that was very easy. This kind of exploit, this exploit caused a massive action by Google. Google actually staffed its history. I don't know if you heard about it, but Google staffed 50 engineers just to do pull requests on a wide array of open source projects to make sure that this issue was blocked. So, and they took probably was Operation Rosebud is called. You can search on the internet. It was amazing. The weird thing about this one, you notice the title of this? 2015 4852. So that number and that acronym up there is the CVE, which is a CVE is a common vulnerability exploit, and it's a database available on the internet to everybody. And you have to notice 2015. This happened, however, in 2016. So 1 year after the vulnerability was declared, was found. So somebody in 2015 found the vulnerability, asked the CV to create an entry, created the entry, published it to everybody, and after 1 year, an hacker exploited it. That's the kind of problem that you have. Who is checking that their vulnerabilities are always up to date? Oh my God. Okay. You have to give me your business cards. Right. Well, another one. This is the Canada Revenue Agency. So it's good because it's a government agency, and it's bad because they didn't tell anybody what happened. So basically, an exploit happened using here a problem in Struts 2. Who's using Struts 2? Oh, only one. That's good. That's good. Good. I'm sorry, by the way. And they say, "Oh, nothing happened. We managed the problem." So they never disclosed what actually happened. But for a while, the system, the website was in this condition. So this is the government agency, the managing taxes for the whole Canada, for a country. And they were hacked using a problem in Struts 2, which allows basically remote attackers to send code using a header in the HTTP request of a multi-port file upload. No? So crafting that header, you can have code execution on the server. And it's that easy. So you can put a firewall, then a firewall, a load balancer, and firewall, load balancer, and the header goes through happily, no? Until it reaches your server and explodes. Okay? So that's an HTTP header. Anyway, this was a zero-day vulnerability, so nobody knew about it. After these guys were hacked, they published the hack, and a vulnerability was discovered and was named 2017 5638. What happens next? This happens, Equifax. I don't know if you heard about this, but basically, Equifax is one of the 3 biggest credit rating company in the USA, and also has a lot of history on the UK as well. So this is the same vulnerability. Actually happened 3 months later. And Equifax disclosed it only 6 months later, because in the meantime, somebody decided to sell some shares, some C-level people decide, ooh, maybe we should sell some shares before telling the people what happened. No, this is exactly what happened. True. And in fact, they were sacked, but they took the money. So they say, I didn't know anything. I don't know. Anyway, what happened here? So basically, 143 million of US citizens' records were stolen. And we're talking about account numbers, address, credit history, everything about yourself. And also 44 million of UK records, by the way. 143 million of US citizens is probably a quarter of the population. So that's how big this was, no? And again, it was the old familiar Struts to multi-part parser header exploit that happened here. So after 3 months that the vulnerability was discovered, these guys tried to pin the guilt on the library. Oh, the library, it was fault of the library. No. It's you. You did not update. It was already a fix available 3 months earlier. You didn't update it. So, at this point, somebody can think, why shall we use open source libraries? No? Why don't we build everything ourselves? So, who wrote a logging library lately? You did. Only 2 of us. It's good because there are a lot of good logging libraries around that we can use rather than writing another one. No, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, you know. Or let's write another logging library. Let's write a unifying logging library of all the logging libraries. There are probably 5 or 6 of them in Java at the moment, with at least 3 claiming unification of logging libraries. So you don't need to write a new one. But mostly, you know, you want to deliver code fast. You're not going to spend time writing code that's already available and tested. So like, you know, logging, serialization, I don't know, what do I say here? Any framework. Are you going to rewrite Spring Boot? Who's using Spring? Spring Boot? Yeah. Why should we rewrite it? No, it's already there. We just need to keep it updated. Just do that. Yes, there's a lot of things already done. You don't need to go again and write them again. It doesn't make any sense. And maybe you need some specific algorithms, and there are libraries that are particularly good, like for crypto, Bouncy Castle, or for recommendation, librec. They're already done. You don't have to write it anymore. So the situation at the moment is that in modern application, most likely 80% of the code is not your code. And you spend a lot of time looking after your code and after, oh, is it well factored? Is it secure? Is it very well done? But there is another 80% where you don't look at all. And that's what the problem is, because you have to keep an eye on that as well. Now, how libraries are used. So I'm here an example from a Maven dependency tree. So basically, you usually have direct dependencies. So libraries that you direct depend upon. So for example, here, my imaginary project, have a direct dependency with Spring Framework and Spring Boot, and a direct dependency with Logback Classic. Those are called direct dependencies. And in this example, for example, this one has a vulnerability that can be exploited. Now, you also have the situation where you have transitive dependencies. So it's not only your library, but the library that your library is using. And maybe the library that the library is using. So you can go down a long way to find a very deep tree of dependencies. So in this situation, now you have this lot. In reality, there are more. This is just a short version. And this one is the good one, Jackson data bind, the one that we're going to exploit later. This one has a vulnerability. You just don't see it. It's a dependency of a dependency. And well, this is just for any manager here. Okay, this is for you. This is your sample project. One dependency here, another dependency there, another dependency there, other 3 dependencies here, and then we have a CV here, and we have another 4 CVs here. This is 4 possible exploits on Jackson data bind. Okay, and this is simple. We are looking just a small tree. So what is a vulnerability in reality? So it's some sort of weakness or defect or a bug or something that people can exploit to do something that at the end will harm your system, will compromise your system. And the problem with that is that vulnerabilities may dare in the open source library that you're using just because you did not update them. And maybe, you know, like me, you were using Spring Boot 4.9.1, not 4.9.1, and it's okay. Unfortunately, today they have 1.5.9, sorry. Unfortunately, today they have a major problem with Jackson data bind. So, for example, Vertex 3.5. Is anybody using Vertex? I'm using Vertex. Yeah? It's cool. Vertex is brilliant. It's no asynchronous I/O. It's like Node.js for Java, magical, all modern and stuff. Unfortunately, 3.5.1, which is the latest released. This is our report. Just put a bit of advertisement here. But unfortunately, Vertex 3.5.1 has a known vulnerability. Well, couple. So we have a problem with log4j. So if you not override log4j, you will get this version, which is very, very old, and you don't want to use it. And then we have the classic Jackson data bind. You have 3 vulnerabilities here on Jackson data bind that can be exploited. One of them is the one we're going to exploit later. And this is production latest release. So if today you're using Vertex, you're using 3.5.1, sorry, you have these vulnerabilities ready to be exploited in your code. Okay? Word of warning. Then what do we have? Struts. Oh, Struts is my favorite. Struts is so cool, man. I'm sorry, it's only you that are using it. It's so bad. I mean, because I've been to another conference yesterday, and there was a lot of people using it. They say, yes, all customers there. So Struts is brilliant. I mean, apart from the unupdated dependencies, but it has a lot of them. There's a problem in the exploitable in Tomcat, Jackson, of course, and JSON-lib. Oh, this is a big one. And then we have a lot of unfixed old dependencies that are coming with Struts. So there's a lot of work on Struts. So that's good. And then what do we have here? Oh, we're going to look Spring Boot. This is not the latest version. This is 1.5.9, which was released in September 2017. Yeah, I wrote it here. So, and as you can see here, no, this is not one. This one. Ooh. This is Spring Boot 1.5.9, and you know has a few, you know, logback, old log4j, Jackson data bind also here, and I think also Hibernate one. Yes, also an Hibernate one. Come on, that's good. So, so there is you can choose here, so it's good. So if you didn't update your Spring Boot library since last September, you probably want to do it. I would do it if I were you. Okay? Promise? You gonna do it? Yes? Come on, who's gonna update Spring Boot dependencies after this speech? Okay, come on, sure. 4 people. The other one, again, if you want to get back and give me your the URL address of your company, you know, you can. Oh, there's another one. Oh, it's a question. Oh, wait, they're going to throw you a microphone. Beware. Ah! Good.
Hello?
Hello. We can hear you.
The vulnerability is still in 1.5.11, still there with logback.
Oh, no.
Sure? I guess at least at 1.5.10 I had to fix it manually.
Oh, yeah, you can use there's a 2.0.1.
Yeah, 2.0.1 is fine, but not 1.5.11 or 1.5.10.
Well, sorry. You can override it, I guess.
I guess too many installations in production.
Well, you know. Anyway, so now we're going to do a demo. So what we're going to do in this demo, we're going to, we're way ahead of time. So we're going to do an exploit of an existing vulnerability in Jackson data bind. So basically, we're gonna have as a main starring a Jackson data bind, and then a server that I built for this purpose. And as a supporting actors, we're gonna use the JSON deserialization and Xaland. Why Xalan? Well, because Xalan, we're going to use a class of Xalan to as a vector to send our exploit to the server. And you say, I'm not using Xalan. No worries, it's in the JDK. Okay? If you use JDK up to less than 8U45, you have the same vulnerability available. Okay? Right. You just need to change com.san versus org Xalan. I don't remember, but it's as simple as that. Who knows about... Is anybody that doesn't know what deserialization and serialization is? You cool? So basically, we send the JSON to the server, and then via an HTTP call, then the server will deserialize it into a Java object, probably a value object with no behavior, and then it will do thing with that object. And the other way around, so the server is sending back results, so it will create a Java object, send it back, serializing it in JSON format. Right. Okay. So here's my code. So I'm using Spark Java here, which is a very nice tidy framework. It's like Sinatra for Java, so it's very declarative. So basically, you declare the port, you declare that there is a get endpoint here. So here you use a get endpoint, and the get endpoint will call products, the list method on products. Products is a products database, and then it will serialize this back as a JSON string using the serializer, which is object mapper from Jackson Databind. Here we go, this one. And then we have a post. So the get returns the list of the products, and the post basically allows you to push a new product on the database. So it tries to deserialize the product, which is here. So try to read the value. Any exception, it will log a warning and return null. So if it's not null, then it will add the product to the database, blah blah blah, to 0, 1, and write then write back the value of string. Otherwise, 400 invalid content. The product database is incredible. It's an hash map, very complicated. Oops, I did something. Very complicated. They basically it's pre-initialized with fruit from Italy. Now, I'm putting fruit from Italy because I live in the UK. In the UK, you have very weird fruit. So you have these small apples like this, very, very small. And you can leave it outside the fridge for 2 months. And they're exactly the same. And then 2 months and 1 day, they disappear. So I don't call those real fruit. For me, real fruit are Italian fruit. So I put only Italian fruit here. The list just return an unmodifiable collection of these values. And then we have a find by ID. I don't think we're using it. Then we have an add, update. Well, very simple things, delete. Then we have some random data. That's it. Right. So let's see what this thing does. So here I can, this is my client. This is my server. So I can run the server. And if I run the server, then it starts, and here I can do this. Probably nicer. So if I do a request, I get the list of the products. We can see better it here probably, or not. So this is a curl, simple curl HTTP localhost 88888 products, and you can see it gets back this JSON representation of products. On the server, you have the information. Oh, list was called, and this is the result. No, and now what you can do, you can add a product. I already have a curl for that, so you create a post request that this is a melon, no? Sends a melon, and you receive a 201 created, and the product is here, and here is the what happened, add, and I request to add this product. So everything sounds fine so far, and there's no problem with that. So now, how do we exploit this? Well, it's not in this case I made things easy for me, because I will just use a simple vector, the Xalan vector. So what I'm going to do is instead of sending the server a fruit, I will send him a fake fruit with other stuff in it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send something like this. So this looks like a product. It's not a product. So remember how a product is done. So we have a name, description, and data. So name, description, and the data part, I put something surprising. So I put this thing, which, what the heck is this? So this is basically a class in the Xalan library. And it's a class used to deserialize Java code from XML documents. So I'm not doing the right thing here, but I'm a hacker, so I can do anything, right? So this class basically normally is used in an XML file. You put the XML file, you put some data in a form of a binary hex encoded JVM bytecode, and it will create that class, no? And we're doing the same here because the way Jackson is configured, it will look into this and will create exactly that type. So Jackson will receive this message and will instantiate template simp. Then it will put the translate bytes code in it. It will put the translate's name. It will put an empty output properties, and then we create the object. When it creates the object, then it will trigger the constructor of the object that I'm sending. And at that point, I can do everything I want. So, what is my exploit at the moment? This is my exploit. So, in order to be a legal class to be used with Xalan, you have to extend a special Xalan class, which is the abstract translate. It's a bit complicated, but And in the constructor, you can do whatever you want. In this case, I'm just printing this Sotomayor. So it's just a signal to the server. It's very visible, no? So now here I'm going to run the exploit, and this, remember the server here. Voila, executed. So I just sent literally. I just sent a JSON document to the server, and the server deserialized it and actually executed code. And I can do anything there. I mean, this code is on GitHub, by the way, so you can try yourself if you don't believe me, but I can, it happens. So I can go here and I can do something like this, no? I want to keep this one. No? So once you create the classes, you compiled it, then you have just to encode it, and have just a small class here with just binx encode the .class file, which is also available on GitHub. So you run this, and you get a nice binx encoded content. You copy it. Let's go on the exploit. So you remove this one. You put the new one. So it's just a little bit long. Here we go. Looks legit. And now, if I run my exploit now, it doesn't work. Where is it? What? I must have copied wrongly. That's demo effect. Okay, let me try again. Okay, clean this. Because it's tricky to copy because it's such a big thing. So encode it. Where is it? Yeah. Oh. Copy it. Let's try to make it right this time. Oh yeah, the equal was missing, I think. Yeah, we have a bit of demo effect. But as you can see, and I can do anything. When I'm able to execute code on the server, I can do anything. I can encrypt your data. Well, I may need to do some extra things if you're not running your... Who's running his server using root? Nobody? Using a sudo access user? Well, once I'm in that situation, I can do a lot of harm on the server and propagate myself everywhere. So it's very important that you take note of these vulnerabilities and make sure they do not happen. Okay? I hope this is very clear. Now, again, all the code is on GitHub. Try it yourself. And there is a blog post that I put with more details if you want to read that one. And just don't do any harm if you can. Or don't quote me when you do it. No, don't do it. So what are the preventive measures that you can put in place to avoid this to happen? So the basic thing is to integrate a library scan in your CI/CD. So if you have a Jenkins, Circle CI, whatever you're using, at the CI level. So you have to be sure that you run a check on your dependencies every time you build your software. And it's very important you do that. And it's a very simple thing to put in place. There are a lot of open source tools that you can use, which is actually free. Of course, there are big commercial powerhouses like Black Duck Software that they do everything. No? But there are also open source options like dependency check that works on a lot of languages. And also GitHub at the moment is starting to implement those checks. So when you push software, they will tell you, oh, this is not good. It's probably not a good idea. GitHub is working on that as well. And of course, there's more commercial targeted solutions like us, Materian. We work for Java and Node.js and JavaScript. It's not released yet, but shortly. Hakiri for Ruby and BitHound for Node.js. So there are a set of, you have a lot of possibility. No? You may want to use one of them. So what a detection system would have said if they were run against this software. So that's easy, because I have it here. So this is my code, the one that you saw in Eclipse before. And I'm gonna run on, I just downloaded the client for Materian and I'm gonna run it on it. Yeah. Oh, the code, the font is a bit small, sorry. Let me terminal. Zoom in. And the internet is not working. Yes. Beautiful. Huh? I've been hacked. It's possible. Or I broke the internet during the demo. It's also possible. Come on, GeeCON. You don't have a GeeCON speakers, I imagine. Oh, I'm on GeeCON speakers. Is any other GeeCON that I can use? GeeCON sponsor? No. Well, I don't know. It doesn't work. I can use my phone, actually. What about it? Settings. Oh. Sorry for the delay. Settings, more. Because I tried outside and it was okay. Maybe I've been hacked. Who knows? Mobile network. Portable. Nope. Not this one. Oh. The instant I have opened the phone, a lot of people start sending WhatsApp, Facebook, yay, amazing. Really. Let's play it again. But I ran this before. I just wanted you to see it's running, but I ran this before, so in case it doesn't work. See, my phone works. Yeah. Ooh. No, I went through. I think. Yeah. I have to log in, sorry. Authorize. My phone is quite slow. I know it's running, it's scanning, and and yeah, you see what happens is that I run the client executed Maven and created a dependency tree, and then generated the dependencies, send it to the server checking its own database. We maintain a database of vulnerabilities which is currently actionable, and you know, that's the result. Security 0, stability 99. So security 0 is not good. I mean, usually it's not a good thing. And we have the report. I will not stress the internet anymore. We have the report here, which says that we have the vulnerability Jackson data bind, Jackson data bind, Jackson data bind, Jackson data bind, and Jackson data bind. We have 5 of them actually. I don't know where the thieves came from, but and the system is suggesting upgrade to 2.8.11.1. Do you know about the 2.8.11.1? Maybe that one sorts everything. No? So this is important. You have one of these tools, and the same works with dependency check or any other tools. But it's important you have it and you run it, because otherwise you're gonna be Sotomayor, or worse. I don't think people would print messages and that's it. Well, let's see at the common delusions that I have. You know, during my, you know, I work with this, and basically I met a lot of managers. So who's a manager? I'm a manager. We had some manager before, disappeared. They left the room. So I'm a manager, and when I talk to other managers, those managers, they have been coding in the past, so they have some knowledge of how code works, and maybe they coded in, I don't know, in COBOL or in Fortran, no, those magical language of like 30 years ago, and you know, they think, no, we know how it works. Okay, so, and this is a collection of things that they say to demonstrate they know how it works. So one thing that they say, well, my code is not using that function. For that reason, I am safe. Okay? So it's okay. So you can say that. However, you usually have, you're not the one coding. You have a team of developers coding with you. So what happens is that at any point in time, any of those guys can start using that function. And the price of the risk of having that function activated and being loaded into your system is so high compared to the cost of implementing a check. So, for example, in the Jackson data bind that we just saw, the offending function is this one. I can show you. It's this guy here. This allows polymorphic expansion of types. So, for example, I create a product and I can send you a subclass of product, and it's good. Also, that one. And it's by default it's not enabled, but you can see it enabled because usually you see in the answer to certain calls you can see the class name. That means that this function is enabled. When this function is enabled, and you have one of the vulnerability vectors in place, so for example, using JDK 43 or 44, then you are vulnerable. So there is no guarantee that whatever you're not using today, you're not going to use tomorrow. So it's just one line that some developers will put in, and probably in review will go through. Nobody will ever notice, because you want to do that special API that really needs to do that admin function, so complicated, and they make it so easy. No? Of course, it's a price. So, not a good one, and you're going to get Sotomayor if that happens. Now, other one, I'm shielded by my input validation. I'm perfectly safe. I hear this all the time. So they say, oh, we are validating the input so well that this is not going to happen. Unfortunately, it will happen because very rarely you validate, for example, in case of a JSON or a deserialization or a Java deserialization, this will happen easily because you do the validation after. You first get the bean. If you're using JSP, you get the bean in the JSP too late. You've already been hacked. So your validation will not control that. And if you put a validation layer on top of every serialization, it's much super complicated and definitely not worth it. So even if you're doing validation, you're not safe. It's the same problem that we have with SQL injection and JavaScript attacks, the same thing. And if you do that, oh, that's a good one. I'm running penetration tests. I'm safe. Who is running penetration tests? I do. Well, not a lot of you, but it's a good thing running penetration tests because they will cover a wide range of possible vulnerabilities in your system. But unfortunately, it will not cover you from the possibility of being exploited by one of those vulnerabilities. Because this kind of exploits require a very specific knowledge about your underlying language, your underlying system, so that normal penetration tester do not have. So they don't test those things. They will test JavaScript injection, SQL injection, common CQRS attacks. I forgot the acronym. The one that gives the cookie on another website and you come back and, course, yeah, sorry. I confused course or CQRS, yes. Common course attacks, they can do that. But they won't do these ones. So these are very specific for Java. And so my conclusion, I'm already 10 minutes ahead, which was very good, it's that you have to be aware that every project uses open source libraries, all of them. 80% of your code is not your code. And it's very easy to exploit those vulnerabilities. I did a lot of research, to be honest, before being able to do this exploit. But actually to write the exploit, server, client, everything, it took me 2 hours. So once a hacker is a cracker, more precisely, is a person that do this research all the time. They're very well prepared. They know what you're doing. They know what they're doing. So it's finding these exploits. It's so easy, and you have to really you have to promise me that when you go back today, really, you will have a hard look at your dependencies and make sure they are updated. At least that. No, everything you have in production, take a look, make sure they're up to date. And of course, after you did that, find a way to put some protection in place. Go for open source, that's fine. Dependency check, it's great. But do it now, don't wait. So here we have some links. So those first two are public database of vulnerabilities. You can go there and have a look what you find. It's fun. There's a lot of stuff. You can see my code there. So you can literally clone it, download it, and run it on your computer. There is everything. There is the encoder, there is the exploit, the JSON file, everything is there. You can run it right away. And this is the link to the dependency check tool that you can add to your pipeline. And of course, you can try Materian. We are currently oh, here we go. Some messages. Hey, forgot that. And of course, you can try Materian and use it. We are currently in a pilot program, so you can ask to be a pilot and we will give you for free and you will use it. We are currently collaborating with a few companies and we are shaping the product in the right way. And yeah, by all means, the only recommendation, do something today. And now, if you have any question and answer, we still have 7 minutes free. Oh, there is one. You should have launched it from here, like.
I would not be able to catch it. So basically, Java is a secure language. So should not the Java runtime basically give us guarantees that somebody should not be running code or injecting code into our libraries? I mean, Java was used to run applets, and basically, as a result of that, it comes with security manager. So if we just enable security manager on our servers, we will be safe, right? It's a pain to configure it, but this exploit could be prevented.
Well, I kind of doubt that because even if there is no so if you configure the security server in a way that this exploit would have prevented, JSON data bind will not work. So you have to select the option, I'm using JSON data bind or I'm using another library, which would be a good thing. Like GeeCON, use GeeCON. Sorry.
Depends on how you configure your security policy file. But if what I can do is I can certainly say that the JSON library should not be dynamically loading classes, and if I want it to load classes, I can say from which package I'm allowing that. So I'm certainly not going to allow somebody to load class from Xalan.
Well, as long as keep in mind that class is in the JDK as well. So JDK up to 8U44 is affected. So you have to basically remove that from the JDK. And this is one vector. There are at least other 10 vectors available. And like C3PO, for example, another exploitable that you may use anybody using C3PO? Yeah, for database pooling? Yeah, is exploitable, sorry. So same thing. So there are a lot of, in fact, the author of the JSON data bind tried to do that. So they start using a blacklist mechanism to avoid specific classes to be instantiated. But that didn't work because every time, for example, they blocked Xaland and then they find another one. And then they have to release another version. Then they block C3PO, they find another one, they have to release another version. So it's like following the emergency. So the problem in JSON data bind and this specific exploit is that the library, as you correctly said, the library shouldn't do those things. But unfortunately, it does. And JSON data bind is inside Spring Boot. You have it for free. So you have it in your code. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Oh, come on, another throw. No? Oh. Okay. So we give you back 3 minutes of your life. And thanks again for being here. And I hope you enjoyed the conference. And let me know if you want to. Oh, yeah, you have to vote. If you want to vote me, that's fine. Vote me well. And you can find me on Twitter over there if you want to tweet or if you want to talk to me. Well, whatever. Thanks a lot.